This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
You are listening to the longest running weekly episodic comic book podcast in all Place to Be Nation.
Broadcasting from the state-of-the-art L-shaped studios at beautiful and serene Ho-Ho Loon Plaza in Vancouver, British Columbia. Greg Phillips and Nick Duke are the Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
Oh no.
When you hear their show, you better run for cover. Klondike Bill's a sausage lover. Ooh, Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
Slobber.
It's a weekly podcast and you better listen. Keep your ears in mint condition. Ooh, Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
Hard-Traveling Fanboys, 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 Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
Got 2 weekly segments coming to your town. Reading, watching, and the rundown. Do. It's the greatest show on Place to Be Nation. Certainly a unique situation. Ooh, Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys,
Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
You vicious little son of a bitch.
They're indivisible. They're microwavable.
No, Mr. Eddie.
Ooh, Hard-Traveling Fanboy. Oi, 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 ois.
Are you gonna give me fucking anything on this show, or why are we even here?
Listen up, slap dick. Let me answer the fucking question. Give me a minute.
Well, Klondike Bill told me that if he ever came across a woman who was extremely clean and well kept, he would tell her to put on a pair of sweatpants and a sweatshirt, go take a 2-mile jog, and then come back and see him when she was done.
I believe it was quite sudden and painful.
Mom.
Hard-Traveling Fanboys,
Hard-Traveling Fanboys. Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
Hard-Traveling Fanboys,
Hard-Traveling Fanboys. Hard-Traveling Fanboys. Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Hard-Traveling Fanboys,
Hard-Traveling Fanboys. Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
Hard-Traveling Fanboys,
Hard-Traveling Fanboys. Hard-Traveling Fanboys.
As the midnight moon was drifting through the lazy sway of the tree, I saw the look in your eyes, looking into the night, not seeing what you wanted to see. Darling, don't say a word, I've already heard what your body's saying to mine. You got a fast move, you got a slow groove on your mind.
You want a podcast with a slow hand. You want to love us with an easy touch. And you are listening to the Hard-Traveling Fanboys. And we are bringing you a Justice League list. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Conway Twitty approved, longest running,
weekly episodic comic book podcast in all
of Place to Be Nation. I am Greg Phillips. with me is my cohort, Nick Duke. And as I so often say, but this time it's true, we're bringing you a very special edition of Countdown. That's right. We're airing this out of order, and we're bringing you a countdown to coincide with Thor/Justice League month, which we are kicking off to commemorate the theatrical releases of both Thor and Crocodile Dundee 4 and Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided that we would make this special, and we decided just before air that we are going to give you the first ever 6-star internet comic book podcast.
Oh, man.
And that's why tonight we are broadcasting live, not from Ho Ho Loon Plaza in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, but from the center of the Tokyo Dome.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, because it was going to be the first ever 6-star internet-rated wrestling match, that we were going to be broadcasting live from the Ale House with all the drunken hicks.
No. As you can see, Nick, all around us are empty seats.
Ah, yes.
That will soon be filled with an exciting wrestling match, or perhaps a sumo match.
However, there is a
Tokyo Dome besides wrestling.
There does appear to be a middle-aged man over there rubbing his naked crotch against one of the seats here in the Tokyo Dome, who bears a striking resemblance to Dave Meltzer.
I thought I noticed some large biceps and a short stature, but we are here to get all the stars. All the stars are out tonight, and the stars are flying at us because this is going to be the greatest podcast of all time.
Good Lord. Greg, you're setting the bar a little high here, don't you think?
Hey, we are in the Tokyo Dome, Nick. This is probably going to be one of our shittiest podcasts, but the fact that it's in the Tokyo Dome automatically makes it better than all prior podcasts.
That's a good point. I can't disagree with that.
And
it however, cannot save my voice, apparently.
However, I will say this. There is a chance for us to go even higher, because next week, if Nick can remind me to stay committed to the gag, we're going to broadcast to you live from a very small high school gym somewhere in North Carolina.
Oh, 6 stars, Greg.
I popped my co-host, and that was what I was after. Because we are here, in all seriousness. We were supposed to do a long book hunt on the Thor Surtur saga, but due to a number of factors, we have delayed that to later in the month. And so in its place, we're going to take what we were going to do later in the month and move it to now, which is a countdown of the top 5 Justice League stories, or issues rather, written by Geoff Johns, our beloved Geoff Johns. And when we were trying to come up with lists for Countdown, we, obviously there were probably sexier lists we could have come up with here. Best Justice League stories, best Justice League rosters, things of that nature. But the harsh reality is that we actually, at least in my case, I haven't read a ton of Justice League comics over the years. I've read select runs here and there, but it's largely, I've read every issue of the Geoff Johns run. I read a lot of the Justice League International era, and I read a lot of the Mark Waid and Joe Kelly Justice League era. But other than that, it's pretty spotty, pretty patchwork here and there. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I've read a lot of the Silver Age stuff. Whenever I did my big Green Lantern reading project several years back, the files I had of those had all of the Justice League issues in which a Green Lantern appeared. So long stretches of consecutive issues and then long stretches where there were no Green Lantern. So as a result, I've read a lot of the 60s and 70s Justice League. I've read a lot of the Giffen and DeMatteis era Justice League. And then, of course, like I said, I have read the entirety of the Geoff Johns New 52 run, and that is the foundation for our countdown, or at least my list is going to be that Geoff Johns New 52 run on Justice League.
Yeah, and I think one of the issues is that most of the 60s Justice League, if correct me if I'm speaking out of turn here, most of the 60s an early 70s Justice League is not very good. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's not very good. I would say it's very indicative of comics at the time. You know, it depends on what your mileage on Silver Age type storytelling is. You know, for me, my mileage on that kind of stuff is not very high. I've long been a fan of the decompressed story, stories that tend to be more character driven than just, you know, wacky Silver Age things happening, which is kind of back then how the stories were structured. So, you know, I won't say bad. I'll just say of its time. How about that?
How similar that? First of all, this is Todd Weber trademark. Second of all, how similar is, and I've already forgotten where I was going to go with that, so I'm just going to abandon it and move on. So basically, we're going to be bringing to you the top 5 issues from Geoff Johns' New 52 Justice League. This, of course, was the flagship title of the 2011 New 52 reboot of the DC Universe. Out with the old, in with the new 52. And they basically restarted their universe from scratch and kicked it off with an all-star title, putting Geoff Johns in the writer's chair and putting Jim Lee, the foremost superhero artist in comics, on art duties for the first 2 story arcs, I believe. And kind of came out of the gates, kicked the door down, and put together a new roster. It's more of a classic roster, but the big change here is that in place of Martian Manhunter was Cyborg, in an attempt to add some diversity to the Justice League, and a move that still arguably hasn't put its hooks into pop culture yet. I think a lot of people still view Cyborg as a member of the Teen Titans, thanks to Teen Titans Go, and the other previous Teen Titans show.
Perhaps the theatrical film will be able to
change that.
We'll have to wait and see. Yeah,
absolutely. And so this was a really a new direction, a new chance to start things over again. And the interesting thing when putting this list together, Geoff Johns put out 50 issues of Justice League. That's right, 50. That was for you, David. Issues of Justice League. And it seemed to me, Nick, and I don't know how your list came together, so I'm just going to speak for mine. I found myself not able to pull anything from the earliest volumes, the earliest stories in his run of Justice League, because all of I started to notice that, to me, the run just got better and better as it went on. A little bit of growing pains early on, and then as it went on, it picked up momentum, and then like a cannon shot out with the last 2 years of storytelling. Right.
And I would also say that much like a lot of Geoff Johns' comics work, he was definitely laying some foundation very early on. I know, particularly in the story, what is it, Greg? The Villain's Journey?
Yes.
The second volume of Justice League.
That's David Graves story.
That's where they really start to lay some of the groundwork for where the book is going to go. And it's not until later on down the road when everything really starts to become a series of payoff after payoff that the title really leaps forward. So yeah, I would agree. It definitely was stronger as it went along.
Exactly, a lot like Magnum PI in that way, a show that started off strong but got stronger as it went. And what you'll find on our lists is a mix of some of the greatest modern DC stories, to be honest with you. I mean, the New 52 is, I think, fairly maligned by a lot of people, us included at times, but we can't lose sight of the fact that the New 52 did give us this. It did give us one of the all-time great titles.
It also gave us, you know, as we've discussed before, the Jeff Lemire and Andres Sorrentino Green Arrow, the Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo Batman, the Greg Pak Action Comics run that I know some are big fans of, even if you and I are not personally. The continuation and finale of Geoff Johns' Green Lantern run. I mean, the New 52, while much maligned by some, had a lot of really good stuff in it, as I believe we discussed all the way back on the very first edition of this podcast, did we not?
I believe we very well might have indeed done something not unlike that. Mm-hmm. Yes. So with all that being said, with all that in the past, with all that pushed to the side, let's get kicking with our lists. And I'm going to let you lead off this week, Nick.
I'm going to let you lead it, Greg.
I lead off almost every week.
And I'm saying you're going to lead off once more.
Let me ask you why.
I don't have to tell you why, damn it. Just do what I say. I'm the damn paterfamilias around here.
You are not the paterfamilias. You can't talk to my fiancé like that.
No, but Matt Reynolds can.
He can. That's right. That's right. Jeremy, one of our 12 listeners, that's your brother we're talking about there.
Yes. We're saying he bears a resemblance to the actor who played Vernon T. Waldrop in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? That's the joke.
That is correct. Well, to kick things off, quite frankly, with number 5 on my list, I am going to Justice League Volume 2, which is the volume we're reviewing here in the New 52, issue number 24. And this was part of what it's so hard to pick out my favorite story from the Johns Justice League, but it's either Forever Evil or Darkseid War, and this comes to us from Forever Evil, which was the storyline in which the crime syndicate came over from their Earth 3, I believe it was, and took over planet Earth, our Earth, and basically took the place of the Justice League and ruled the Earth with an iron fist. This is an issue titled Forever Strong. It's Geoff Johns, it's Ivan Rice. To me, one of the great pairings in comics of the modern era. You never can go wrong with Johns and Rice. They, of course, had their great run on Green Lantern. They had their great run on Aquaman, and here they were on Justice League. And this is actually part of, you had the Forever Evil miniseries, which was telling the main story of Forever Evil. These Justice League issues were telling snippets, vignettes about the crime syndicate. And this is the origin of Ultraman, the Superman of the crime syndicate. And what's great about these issues is their twists on the classic familiar superhero origins, arguably the most familiar superhero origins in all of comics, those of characters like Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and Green Lantern. And what we have here is the original superhero story, Superman, and it's flipped. It's a world where Jor-El and his wife save their only son from destruction on the planet Krypton, or Krypton if you're Marlon Brando. And instead of sending him off to hope for a better life, they send him off and hope for him to get revenge against the being who's destroying their world. And unlike Jor-El, who instructs their son in compassion and love, Jor-El tells his son to be the strongest one there is, or to be nothing at all. And he lands in Smallville, Kansas, in the home of Jonathan Kent and his drug-addicted wife, Martha. Pretty nice switch on the traditional kindly couple that we know from Superman's origin. Here, they're drug addicts who are basically terrified of their boy because he's eating kryptonite, which makes him stronger instead of weaker. And he ends up growing almost like an addict to this kryptonite. He has to have it to maintain his power. So he's eating chunks of this. He destroys Jonathan's hand and basically raises up and becomes an authoritarian, a totalitarian. He murders the president of the United States, manipulates Hal Jordan into becoming Power Ring of Earth 3. He kind of leads the crime syndicate in their stranglehold over the Earth. And now that he's on our Earth, he is particularly harsh. He goes and he basically tortures Superman's supporting cast, Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane. He's threatening to kill them. He's basically using them to determine how weak the planet is. And he's right about to kill Jimmy when the issue ends, and he finds out that Black Adam and this sort of makeshift Injustice League is coming to fight back against the society, and he wants to have a showdown with Black Adam. So basically, this is an issue that flips the Superman story on its head, gives us a great origin for Ultraman, and I gotta say, Nick, these issues were key in sucking me into Forever Evil in the same way that the Sinestro Corps tie-ins served to suck me into the greater conflict of the Sinestro Corps War. So I was a huge fan of this one. Enjoyed getting this alternate take on something that's so familiar that we've seen a billion times. And I have to say, I'm not always the biggest fan of origin stories, but this is one of the better ones I've read in recent years.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to hear you found a spot for that one on your list. It was one of several that I considered for my top 5, but wound up having to cut. I will say I pretty much enjoyed all of those Justice League issues during Forever Evil that kind of showed you a deeper look at the Crime Syndicate and their origins. I remember the Owlman also being the issue being especially good. So
indeed, it was.
Glad to hear you included that Ultraman issue there on your list. Moving on to number 5 on my list, I've got Justice League number 30. This is the first issue after Forever Evil. Actually, I believe possibly because of a publishing delay, this may have come out before the final issue of Forever Evil. I don't really remember the sequencing of it. But the important part is that this one kind of is dealing with some of the fallout from Forever Evil, most notably the fact that the entire world saw not the Justice League, but Lex Luthor save the Earth. And it puts the entire league in this really weird position, particularly Clark Kent, and aka Superman, of course, who is not really sure how to deal with this newfound popularity of Lex Luthor. He mentions to Batman at one point that he's basically trained his super hearing to turn off everything he hears around him except for certain key phrases, one of those being Lex Luthor. And so now Luthor is the name on everyone's lips, but everything they're saying is positive. And everybody has high praise for Lex and views him as a savior of humanity, essentially. And this newfound popularity has led Lex to decide that perhaps there are, better ways for him to serve humanity than to fight Superman. He winds up purchasing the League a new watchtower. He winds up requesting permission to join the League and is roundly denied it by Superman and Wonder Woman. He even at one point has Wonder Woman put her lasso of truth on him in order to prove to them that his motivations are pure. And he admits under the influence of the lasso that he wants to join the League because he's an egomaniac and he wants to placate his own ego, and 2, because the events of Forever Evil have shown him that there are better ways to help humanity than trying to stamp out the perceived threat he once saw Superman as. Unfortunately for him, throughout this process, the League time and time again turns him away. But he is not to be deterred, because this issue ends with one of the greatest cliffhangers of the entire New 52, when Lex Luthor shows up at Wayne Manor, rings the doorbell, and asks Alfred Pennyworth if he could please have a meeting with Batman.
Such a great scene. That's a quintessential Johnsian scene.
Yes. It's just a fantastic scene. So mainly for the Lex Luthor journey, this is why it found its way onto my list. But I'll have to give this one a special shout out because it features the introduction of one of the characters here in DC Rebirth that has kind of stolen our hearts away. That being the first appearance of Jessica Cruz, as she is shown cowering in her apartment in fear because the power ring of Earth 3 has, of course, left Hal Jordan in the wake of his defeat at the end of Forever Evil and has come to her to be its new host. So lots of great stuff in this issue, but mainly for Geoff Johns' writing of Lex Luthor, this one finds the number 5 spot on my list.
A very good portrayal of Mr. Luthor, and at no point in the issue does he offer anyone a Jolly Rancher. Which,
no, he does not.
Unique, certainly, to have a version of Lex that doesn't do that. At number 4 on my list, I am going to go a couple of issues before the one I mentioned a moment ago. And I am going to go to Justice League number 23. This is the conclusion of the Trinity War, which was another almost forgotten at this point crossover event between Justice League of America, and Justice League Dark. And what we got here was not just the conclusion to Trinity War, but the bridge that leads us into Forever Evil. And it's one of the best bridging issues between two story arcs I've ever read. I know a lot of people criticize Trinity War because it was really just a setup for Forever Evil, but what a setup it was. So basically, we get tied all the way back to something that happens in the very first issue of Justice League, written by Johns, and the battle with Darkseid, and it opens a rift or weakens the boundaries between universes, and it allows two individuals to escape a ruined world and get into ours. One of those is this individual, the Outsider, who we've seen for weeks, or not for weeks, but for months, has been leading this group called the Secret Society, and we don't know much about the Outsider. We also see another one escaped with him, another person that's kind of left in the shadows. While the League is busy with other threats, the Outsider is trying to save the man who saved him and allow his master to come over to their Earth. So to do this, he builds the Secret Society and places a mole within the League's ranks, and we don't know who the mole is. Well, this whole time during Trinity War, the conceit has been that Superman is being killed by this Pandora's box. It's causing him to almost die, basically. And in this issue, we find that Superman is actually producing kryptonite. He's actually sweating kryptonite from his body and emitting radiation. And they find that somebody implanted inside of him a sliver of kryptonite into his brain, actually, into his brainstem. And we find out that this character that had been introduced many, many issues earlier, even in the pages, I believe, of Justice League of America, the Atom, this new Atom, is secretly a mole planted by the Outsider. She is actually Atomica of the Crime Syndicate, and she triggered Superman's heat vision and basically started the whole Trinity War. She had been manipulating them from the inside. When Cyborg confronts her, we find out yet another part of the Outsider's plan, because this entity known as Grid has taken over and hacked into Cyborg and basically takes over his body, and it creates this gigantic heel turn, essentially, not one but two heel turns, essentially, in addition to the Outsider reveal. And the Pandora's box gets destroyed, and it opens this door to Earth 3, and through the door at the end of the issue walks the Crime Syndicate. And Nick, it's hard to remember where we were when we read this, but this was such an awesome reveal, such an awesome cliffhanger of an ending. Another one of those classic Johns cliffhangers that paid off. You mentioned earlier the payoff to early threads, and this paid off so much because even before Trinity War, we had seen hints that something was going on behind the scenes that the heroes weren't aware of. And in this, we see Superman neutralized. We see Cyborg neutralized. We see Aquaman neutralized. We see Wonder Woman neutralized. And it looks, for all intents and purposes, as if the Crime Syndicate is going to rule the planet. It has basically beaten Justice League. They have battered and rendered the three Justice Leagues, actually, both Justice League America, and Justice League Dark. They're basically rendered inert at this point, and it looks, for all intents and purposes, like we're heading for the bad guys to win the day. Great issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yet another one that I almost put on my list and just and couldn't do. And the reason I couldn't do it, Greg, was because when it came down to nut cutting time, I realized pretty quickly what my list was going to be. And what my list is going to be is one giant, long verbal fellatio of the story known as the Dark Side War, because from here on out, it's all Dark Side War all the time on my list. So let's jump right into it with my number 4 spot.
Woo!
Issue 48 of Justice League. This is part 8 of the Dark Side War, and so often we give Johns, deservedly so, credit for being a fantastic writer, and he writes dialogue and character motivation better than just about any other comic writer I've ever encountered. But when push comes to shove and it's time to do so, he also writes a hell of an action scene, and he knows when it's time to move out of the way and let his artist do the heavy lifting, and that's exactly what he does here in issue 48. He has been setting up the entire time this masterful plot that has seen Mobius, the Anti-Monitor, and Darkseid in conflict with one another. Of course, throughout the book, he's also been putting the Justice League in this precarious situation, and finally they are forced to do something they never thought they'd have to do, and they turn to the remaining members of the crime syndicate to try, and they ask for help to stop a now rampaging Mobius from destroying the Earth with antimatter. And what follows is one of the most satisfying, basically issue-long action scenes that you'll ever see. You get to see awesome stuff like Superwoman and Wonder Woman teaming up to take on Mobius, or Superman and Ultraman zooming in to take him on at the same time. You get to see Mr. Miracle continue to play a really cool role here in Darkseid War. You get to see Mobius attempting to take the chair back from a Metron-powered Batman. You get to continue to see a negative version of Superman that has been charged by apocalyptic energy, dealing with Mobius in very brutal fashion, and you get the very, very brutal end for Ultraman, as that character is written out of the series in epic fashion. And then you also get one of the coolest moments of Lex Luthor returning from Apocalypse with an army of parademons behind him. It is just visual eye candy at its finest, and Jason Fabok draws it so expertly. Johns, who has set all these dominoes up and is watching them fall over with glee. I almost feel like it's just a beautiful, beautiful issue, and probably the most thrilling issue of Darkseid War, if I had to pick one just from an action standpoint. So that's why it takes on the number 4 spot on my list.
It's such a great issue, and I hate that I blanked on it. I totally forgot about it, but you're right. This was a visual feast from Jason Fabok. He did an amazing job on this, and you're right. Sometimes writers need to know when to step away a little bit and let the artist do the heavy lifting and give people some payoff, some action payoff to all of these decompressed stories. And that's why I think Johns is among the best at these decompressed stories, because yes, he fills them with dialogue. Yes, he stretches them out. And yes, he fills them with character beats. But when the time comes, he knows when it's time to let the actions speak louder than the words, to give us that payoff and that excitement to keep the forward momentum going. And that's what we got here, with a great issue and a great pull to get that onto your list. Glad to see that on. I am going with my number 3 issue back to Forever Evil again. And I am going to go, you referenced it earlier, I'm going with Justice League number 25, which is by Geoff Johns and Doug Mahnke, and it is the origin of Owlman. Much like we saw the Ultraman origin in the previous issue, this one, called Forever Lost, gives us the story of an alternate Bruce Wayne who whined about all the things that he wanted that his parents weren't buying. His parents basically ignored him, and until they heard the click of a revolver, and the gun was in the hand of their elder son, Thomas Jr. He warned that he and Bruce would never listen to them again, and when Bruce realizes that Thomas is serious about this plan, things don't go well. Bruce tackles him to prevent him from murdering the parents. 2 shots ring out, and it's Alfred Pennyworth has killed Bruce, and Thomas Wayne Jr. becomes Owlman, and he's basically Bruce Wayne if Bruce Wayne were a homicidal psychopath. And what we get is a version of Thomas Wayne Jr. who adopts a Richard Grayson from the circus after killing the Graysons. So they were money launderers, and Owlman kills them and takes their son as his son, Richard Grayson. Now, things go sour when that world's Nightwing finds out about it. When Owlman comes to our Earth and they take down Dick Grayson and expose his identity to the world, he doesn't allow him to be killed because he thinks he knows this is not his Dick Grayson, but he thinks this is basically his chance to do right by getting Dick on his side, basically. And who doesn't want to get Dick on their side?
Who doesn't?
And, they've revealed his identity. He's basically trying to break him down. The world he knew, telling him that, everything sucks. He's sick of it, all of it. And Owlman wants to do good for once in his life. He wants to save this world from the crime syndicate with Dick Grayson's help. He's going to take control of it, end crime permanently, and explains how there are weaknesses to Ultraman and others. So Dick has options. Let Ultraman win or join Owlman. And Dick agrees to join him. Of course, we all know that Dick would never actually do that. But Dick agrees to at that point. And Superwoman, at the end of the issue, has this great scene where we find that she's been eavesdropping the whole time. And we also know that she's had an affair with Owlman, in addition to sleeping around with Ultraman. So there's all kinds of soap opera drama going on here. There's Dick Grayson involved, so I'm automatically attached to it. And it's another example of twisting the details of the second most famous superhero origin of them all, that of Bruce Wayne. So to me, this made Ultraman instantly one of the most intriguing characters in the crime syndicate, added a new layer of depth to him, and allowed Owlman, yeah. And it added something to Dick Grayson and gave him a role in a major story arc. So I really loved this issue. I thought it was indicative of the overwhelming critical success that was Forever Evil.
Absolutely. Yet another one that I wanted to put on my list and just couldn't quite do it. But moving on to my number 3, I've got Justice League number 42. This is part 2 of the Dark Side War. And this is where we kind of start to see what this story is actually going to be all about. We have, after the events of the first part, we have Lex and Superman who are stranded on Apokolips, and their presence has been noticed by Darkseid, who is now setting out to claim Superman's very soul, he says. Meanwhile,
his very soul!
Meanwhile, back on Earth, the Anti-Monitor has appeared, and basically Wonder Woman is trying to stop him single-handedly, and we see that doesn't go very well. All along, we see Metron kind of jumping around from place to place and hinting that he kind of, is in possession of a lot of knowledge about what's going on and trying to keep these various parties involved from getting what they really want, whether it's Grail, who's trying to draw Darkseid to Earth, or whether it's the Anti-Monitor, who is seeking to unleash antimatter across the planet. But the most pivotal scene, or a couple of them, one is a really great scene with Mr. Miracle, where he is approached by an individual known as Marina Black, who reveals that her entire purpose here is that she is manipulating the daughter of Darkseid, Grail, into bringing into bringing the Anti-Monitor to Earth because she believes that the Anti-Monitor is the one being with enough power to destroy Darkseid. And now she plans on drawing Darkseid to Earth to basically instigate a war between these two individuals. Her thought process being no Darkseid in the Earth in the universe is ultimately a good thing, even if it winds up costing Earth, its destruction at the hands of the Anti-Monitor in the process. Of course, Mr. Miracle turns her down, and we see the League finally approaching Metron, trying to demand answers about who is pulling their strings, what's going on here, and how they can stop the Anti-Monitor. And what happens is, in a very pivotal scene, Wonder Woman winds up attaching her lasso to Metron and demanding the truth from him. And when she asks how they can stop the Anti-Monitor, he claims not to have the answers, and she asks where she can get the answers, and he says, under the influence of the lasso, to take the chair from him. And she winds up pulling him off of the chair, and all the different members of the League step forward, but ultimately it's Batman who sits upon the chair, and that's where you kind of see, for the first time, what this story is really going to be. It's going to be about these characters in the Justice League who have always been referred to by some, whether they be writers or fans, as gods. But it's going to be playing with the idea of what they would actually be like if they were gods, and how godhood and power can corrupt. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the first instance of that is glimpsed here as we see Batman become the all-knowing god of knowledge. And it sets the stage for several other character transformations over the course of the book. But, for the plot of the war being laid out, and for that great image of Batman sitting down upon the Mobius chair, this took home my number 3 spot.
Awesome. And you're just further laying out what an amazing story Darkseid War was. I mean, that shot of Batman sitting on the Mobius chair, that's actually the last issue, by the way, Nick, that got cut from my list. That was my number 6, and I just cut it off, but was very close to making it. Great issue and a great story. And speaking of that great story, I'm going to go all the way to the very beginning of it, to the prologue of the Darkseid War, because my number 2 issue is Justice League number 40. This is the Darkseid War prologue. This is the best way I can describe this issue. It's written by Geoff Johns, of course, as all these are, and it's drawn by a who's who of awesome comic book artists from the 80s and 90s and 2000s, as well as today. You've got Kevin Maguire, Phil Jimenez, Dan Jurgens, Jerry Ordway, Scott Collins, Jason Fabok, and Jim Lee, all drawing different segments of this. And this is basically Geoff Johns presents the history of the DC Universe. It is a one-stop shop for cleaning up the continuity questions of the New 52, ironically enough, which would be done away with in the very near future. And it's basically a retelling of all of the events from the past that were still canonical with this story. And you get glimpses of classic runs of the past. Phil Jimenez, who is probably the foremost George Perez imitator. And I don't mean that negatively. He's a great artist, but very few can draw like Perez, and Jimenez is probably the best at mimicking that style, at providing a version of that is very, very good. And he goes in and draws the iconic scenes from the original Crisis. The hand, of course, reaching through time, Superman holding Supergirl in his arms, the death of the Flash, things like that. It's this incredible journey. And, of course, to me, the most emotional scene for me is seeing Dan Jurgens get to come back and redraw the death of Superman. I mean, just amazing. You see characters like Wave Rider pop up. You see, just every major event pretty much in the history of the DCU, Hal Jordan's fall from grace as Parallax. You see the Marvel family. You see all of the new Teen Titans, all of these amazing characters and stories from the 80s and 90s and 2000s kind of updated and modernized a little bit and thrown in here as Metron kind of guides us through the DC universe, the Anti-Monitor and his rise to power and his history and who the Anti-Monitor is and how he came to be, how he gained his powers, what was going to lead into Convergence, things like that. It's such a great usage of history to tell a current day story. And it was one of I'm trying to come up with a term for these kind of comics, because Johns does these once in a while. Rebirth #1 was the same way. It's almost like this amalgamation isn't the right word, but maybe a collage. That's it. It's like a collage of the DC universe. And until Rebirth #1, this may have been the greatest that I had seen. It was so it was my favorite issue of his Justice League run for a long time. And that's because I got to, for the first time in 3 or 4 years at that point, see all these classic stories that I remembered and that I think still have value acknowledged and celebrated. And it was really special to see some of these artists that don't get work a lot anymore, like Jerry Ordway, who should get work more and doesn't. Get a chance to come in and draw the top-selling book at that time for DC alongside Batman, and it was special, and it's an amazing issue. Belongs in the pantheon of all the top Geoff Johns issues of any comic he's written, only to be outdone by one comic that will be at my top spot.
Yeah, I admittedly, this was another one that I wanted to put on there. Tried really hard and just could not find a spot for, but I understand why it made your list. But for my number 2 spot, I went with Justice League 44. This is part 4 of the Darkseid War storyline, and this is kind of the first big action scene of this book. And what I'm talking about is this features the big throwdown between Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor. Finally, Marina Black and Grail have succeeded in putting all the pieces into place. All the players are on the board, and what else is going to happen? But they are just going to tear into each other with an amazing fury. Meanwhile, you've got the Justice League kind of caught in the middle. They're sitting there trying to contain the damage and stop the forces of Darkseid from running rampant over the earth. You've also got Batman and Hal Jordan setting off to try and find the knowledge of what exactly is the Anti-Monitor and how did he come to be and how can they find a way to stop him. In the midst of all this, you've got Jessica Cruz finally finding the willpower, appropriately enough, to command the Ring of Volthoom to create a massive construct in order to protect her friends from an onslaught of parademons. So as Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor are battling it out, you see Darkseid use one of his ultimate tools as he calls the Black Racer to the battlefield, preparing to take the life of the Anti-Monitor. Meanwhile, Batman and Hal Jordan find this chamber where they believe the Anti-Monitor came to be, and it's there that Batman comes to the realization that Darkseid is soon about to realize that what Darkseid has been hunting for his entire existence, the one thing he covets more than anything else, that of course being the anti-life equation, that thing is about to be turned upon him in ways he never expected, because the Anti-Monitor has the anti-life equation running through his veins, and he uses it to brutally murder Darkseid in an amazing fashion. Something you never thought you'd see on a comic page, where Darkseid just gets the ever-living hell beaten out of him and his ass handed to him. And then you see the closing shot of the book is Darkseid laying there, bleeding what appears to be Omega beams from every orifice that has been created as a result of the wounds of the battle. And it is just, again, an expert example of Geoff Johns knowing how much direction to give for an action scene, and then letting the artist do the work. And it is one hell of an action scene. And that, that closing shot of Darkseid laying there, bleeding Omega beams is just so damn iconic, and I loved it so much.
Nobody makes Darkseid bleed his own blood, except on that occasion in which they did. That was an amazing issue. Another one that just barely missed my list, and honestly, I blanked on when I was putting my list together. But a great one, an outstanding one. Darkseid dying was one of the biggest shocks of this story. I never expected, since we had been told that the story was going to be all about this conflict between Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor, I didn't expect it to be wrapped up so quickly, and I certainly didn't expect it to be wrapped up so decisively.
Right.
Huge shock at the time, and it's hard to shock me in comics.
And then there's almost like a whole other story, a whole other 6 issues here that we didn't see coming. We thought that they would both be on the board till the end of it, and so it kind of became this different kind of story we didn't know how to expect, how to take.
It sure did, and that new story all culminated with the number 1 comic on my list, which is Justice League number 50. 50. The conclusion to the Darkseid War, and indeed, for all intents and purposes, the conclusion to Geoff Johns' classic run on Justice League. This book, it was just the word you used, the word iconic a moment ago to describe that Darkseid and Anti-Monitor scene, and I think it's fair to use that scene here, that term here too, because the best way that I can describe this issue is iconic. Epic would be another way. Like, in the past, there have been those who have said that sometimes Jeff's finales aren't quite as good as his kickoffs to his events. I don't necessarily agree. I think most of his endings have been landed. But this is one case where the ending was landed in a huge way. Not just the ending for Justice League, but honestly, doesn't this issue feel like the spiritual ending of the New 52?
Absolutely, especially considering the epilogues that we see as the first teases of what was to immediately follow the New 52 would begin to appear.
Yep. We see the idea that Diana has it's that classic Geoff Johns thing where he wraps up one story and then instantly plants the seeds for stories that you can't wait to see told. Mm-hmm. Whether it's who Diana's brother is, whether it's Lex Luthor ruling Apocalypse and wearing the Superman symbol in the process and being Superman. What does that entail? Whether it's the idea of Batman knowing that there are Jokers and knowing that there are 3 Jokers. We get that reveal. There are 3 Jokers in existence. And all of these things get brought together. The creation of a brand new iconic Wonder Woman villain in Grail. And this general sense that the cynicism of the New 52 is starting to go away a little bit because Superman makes it a point to say we were never gods, we were humans, and that kind of defines that New 52 role, but it also almost puts a stamp on it and gets us ready for the return of the iconic characterizations we were used to before. And if you could read one issue from his run, now granted I think the context helps a ton, but I really do think you could pick this issue up and just get an idea of what makes Geoff tick as a storyteller. The beats that he hits, the bringing together of the team at the end after breaking it apart in the middle, and the sense of finality that is then immediately followed up by all these other questions that you want to have answered. It's incredible serial storytelling. To your point, Nick, letting us know what we might expect from the coming months and what ended up becoming Rebirth. And giving us this badass conclusion to a story that had gone on for a long time and had dealt with delays and had gone, 10 issues deep, and ultimately ended up being by far the best Justice League story I've ever read. And one of the best superhero team stories I've read. This is the kind of story that I wish X-Men comics could have told in recent decades. So big fan of this one, and that's why it's my number one comic on this list and one of my favorite comics of the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and that's why it's also number one on my list. You said everything so expertly, but suffice it to say, it's just beautifully written. I mean, this is an example of a book where coming into this issue, there are so many different plot threads up in the air, and you kind of wonder, even with an expanded page count, how is Geoff Johns gonna steer all these ships into port and do it in a fashion that isn't awkward and rushed? And he manages to do it in a way that only he can, bringing all of these different threads to a satisfying conclusion, while, like you said, setting up new threads that would spill over into DC Rebirth, threads that are still playing out today, 2 years later. I mean, we've got whether it's the first tease of Dr. Manhattan having a role to play in the DC universe, or Wonder Woman's brother.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Or the mystery of the three Jokers. It's a great, fantastic issue for like 55 pages. And then those last 5 epilogue pages just take it to this whole other level. They're not unlike his previous finale of a big run, Green Lantern 20, where the main story itself is fantastic, but for my money, it's taken up this whole other notch by the epilogue, and it's just amazing storytelling.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it, folks. Both of us with all different books on our lists until we got to the top, and we agree that the greatest Justice League story of Geoff Johns' run and the greatest Justice League issue that we've read is Justice League number 50.
Yep.
So go out of your way to check out the Dark Side War. I think they've got it in 2 volumes now. Check it out. Read it. You'll love it, I think. Maybe you won't, but I think you will. I know Todd's a big fan. All of us at PTBN Pop are big fans of that one. And let us know your thoughts. What are your favorite issues of the Geoff Johns Justice League run? Did we underrepresent the early stuff? I know one of the great stories we left out on our list, Nick, was Throne of Atlantis.
Yep.
Which was really good. So let us know what issues we might have left out. Give some love to some of the ones we mentioned, some of the ones we didn't mention. Hit us up on Twitter at gphillips8652, at nickduke87. Join us on the Place to Be Nation Comics Facebook page. Just type in Place to Be Nation Comics in your Facebook search bar. It'll come up. Join the group. We'll let you in. We'll have all kinds of great conversation and talk, news stories, things like that. And, of course, you can send us emails, the loneliest email addresses on the internet, gregp@placetobenation.com, nickd@placetobenation.com. Let us know your thoughts on the show. Let us know your top 5 Justice League stories of the Geoff Johns run. And just for shits and giggles, give us your top 5 overall Justice League stories if you want. That'll be fun as well. Issues that maybe your favorites from your time of reading. And while you do that, we're going to take a break, and when we come back on the other side, we're going to have all of the news items. We're going to have reviews of comics, maybe, and we're going to have definitely reviews of the weekly comic book TV shows. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, pro wrestling announcer Kevin Kelly here. I want to make sure you are all subscribed to all the great feeds here at Place to Be Nation. It's really easy to do. Just head to iTunes or your preferred podcatcher app today and search and subscribe to the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, which, of course, includes the full archives of the Kevin Kelly Show, the Place to Be Nation pod feed, and the Pro Wrestling Only feed. Subscribe, listen, and then rate us and leave feedback today. And be sure to give Justin your true thoughts. I mean, don't hold back. After all, he is kind of a jerk. Just listen to Scott.
Place to Be Nation's JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have a ton of great podcasts available to you on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlayStation.com, and we offer those to you on 3 great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, we bring you the Mothership, the original Place to Be podcast, as well as Main Event, Lucha Afterground, and our monthly pay-per-view reaction shows, as well as the Our Vantage Point podcast and Jeff Learns Wrestling. In addition to these full-length shows, we also deliver quick-hit pod blasts on topics old and new.
Over on the Pro Wrestling Only feed, we dive deep inside the wrestling business with a stacked army of experts leading the way. The feed features potpourri shows such as This Week in Wrestling, Greetings from Allentown, Psychology is Dead, Puro Potpourri, Stacy and Elliot's Bogus Journey, and the Military Industrial Suplex. We also have shows that focus intently on certain topics like Letters from Center Stage, Space City, and NWA Classics on Demand Adventure, Through the Years, Strong Style History, Strong Style Story, and Mount Olympus. Plus, the feed has the full archives of legendary shows like Titans of Wrestling, Where the Big Boys Play, Letters from Kayfabe, and much more. And on our popular Place to Be Nation Pop podcast feed, we offer such great shows as the Glenn Butler Podcast Hour Spectacular, Rank and File, PTBN Dadcast, Go Home in a Box, NBA Team, and Lucha Undead, as well as a veritable podcast heaven for comics fans with the Hard-Traveling Fanboys, Sellers Points, Todd Weber's Conversation, Geek and Sassy, and Imaginary Stories podcasts.
You can find all of these current shows plus archives of our past podcasts, including The Kevin Kelly Show, as well by subscribing to all of our feeds on iTunes, and while there, be sure to rate and leave feedback as well. All of these shows, plus others available on PlaceToBeNation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth stretch projects and more. Be sure to support our site by using PlaceToBeNation.com/Amazon when shopping online, and download our free PTB Vintage Vault Refresh ebooks via the links on our site. We also want to thank our friends at Bonehead's Wing Bar in West Warwick, Rhode Island, and Fall River, Massachusetts, TheHistoryOfWrestling.com, and Scott Keats' blog of Doom. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr as well. PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Well, I spent a lifetime looking for you. Single bars and good time lovers were never true. Playing a fool's game, hoping to win, and telling those sweet lies and losing again. I was looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for love in too many faces, searching their eyes, looking for traces of what I'm dreaming of, hoping to find a friend and a lover. I'll bless the day I discover another heart, looking for love. I was alone then, no love in sight.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen, and before we get any further, I'd just like to mention that a certain fantasy football team this past weekend walked into Hilton Hulkamaniac Stadium in beautiful Hilton, Georgia.
Technically, you were listed second, so it was a home game for you.
Walked into the Prestige Stadium in Prestige, Canada, and just put a whooping on the Hilton Hulkamaniac.
Prestige is a town in Canada now?
Yes.
Then why aren't we doing the podcast live from Prestige, Canada every week?
Because Michael Caine's the mayor, and he won't let us in yet.
What the hell do we do to him?
Impersonated him one too many times, apparently.
I've never impersonated Michael Caine.
Oh, you can't mean that.
Anyway, continue with your snide remarks.
Just laid a whooping on the Hilton Hulkamaniacs, and you got to wonder, there's one coach on the hot seat today, Nick Duke. Barrett Salee we're trying to get Barrett Sallee on the line, but Barrett's having some issues, and I'm not really interested in what he had to say anyway. So I'm just going to hang up on him and tell you what I think about it. I think he needs to be fired. I think he needs to join the line with Butch Davis, Brett Bielema, and
Butch Davis. Butch Davis?
Butch Jones. Is Butch Davis unemployed or not? I rest my case.
Is he?
And Jim McElwain.
Is he unemployed?
Yes.
Are you
most likely?
Are you saying that?
What's important here?
No, Butch Davis is the head coach at Florida International University.
Really?
Apparently.
Well, learn something new every day. A 20-point victory on the strength of a dominant defensive performance by the Baltimore Ravens, and a 42-point outing by Russell Wilson, and a 26-point outing by now suspended running back Ezekiel Elliott. In all seriousness, good game, sir. It was fun to keep track of. And we'll meet again down the line one day. But we're ready to get kicking with the weekly look at the news and notes of the comic book world. We're ready to hit you with a little dose of the rundown.
Where we talk some comic news. Welcome to the rundown. Where we talk about movies too.
And what better way to start, Nick, than with our favorite area of the L-shaped studio that we have again transported for 1 week only to Tokyo, Japan. The DCEU Corner.
DCEU Corner.
We got some news today, Nick, or this week rather, on a project that I think both of us were skeptical would ever happen at this point. We got news about Shazam. And that news came in the form of a casting announcement, the long-awaited casting announcement. It is not John Cena. It is not anyone that had been rumored before. It is Chuck star Zachary Levi, or Levi.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. But I like
of the Warriors 3 in Thor the Dark World. And
Thor the Dark World and Thor Ragnarok.
I was about to say in the upcoming Thor Ragnarok.
Yep. He also has appeared on NBC's Heroes Reborn, which nobody watched. But nevertheless, Zachary Levi has lots of cred in the geek community. He's been cast as the eponymous Shazam, a.k.a. Captain Marvel, the original Captain Marvel. And that's the only announcement that was made, really. But we know that he's in it. And, Nick, what are your thoughts on this casting announcement?
I was a little surprised, I got to be honest. I thought for sure they were going to go with more of a, square-jawed, big-bodied kind of all-American type look. Somebody like John Cena, honestly, even if not Cena himself. Levi has always played these kind of, I know on Chuck he played a little bit of a dorkier character, and I know in the Warriors 3 he's kind of the more slender, dashing one. So it's a little bit of a surprise from that regard. But then again, I mean, these Hollywood actors, they always go on these insane diet plans. They bulk up huge. Like, I'm sure he'll be able to physically pull it off. But I still maintain the most important casting for this film is still yet to come, because this film is going to live or die entirely upon the performance of whoever is playing Billy Batson. So this is all fine, well, and good, but if you don't get a good child actor to play Billy Batson, this movie is going to be a train wreck.
Agreed. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think he can pull off dorky, and Captain Marvel needs to be a little dorky. So I like that. And I'm curious to see who they get for Billy Batson. I would not at all be surprised if they look onto the cast of Stranger Things for Billy Batson.
Finn Wolfhard would be an excellent Billy Batson.
What an amazing name that is that I'm just hearing for the first time.
You've never heard Finn Wolfhard before?
No, but I wish I had. That's amazing.
Finn Wolfhard,
what a great name.
Finn Wolfhard is also in the film It. So he's
somewhere Vince McMahon is kicking himself for not renaming Finn Balor into Finn Wolfhard when he hit the main roster a few years ago. or I guess last year.
Yeah, Finn Wolfhard. That's my fantasy casting for old Billy Batson, but not imagining that it'll happen.
Which, frankly, I'd suggest that Finn Balor could be just as good, seeing as how he's so small. Nevertheless, we also got word in the Shazam corner of the universe that the long-anticipated, long-lingering in pre-production Black Adam movie starring The Rock has found a screenwriter. And the screenwriter is Adam. Nick, why don't you tell the people what the screenwriter's name is?
Oh, of course. This screenwriter's name is Adam Zatikiel. Is what I'm going to go with.
Adam Zatikiel he's not officially signed. He's in negotiations to write the screenplay for the Black Adam film from New Line Cinema. The Rock was originally scheduled to star as Black Adam in Shazam, but instead will debut in his own solo movie. Was a member of the writing team for Rampage, the upcoming Rock movie about the old video game. He's also, the website I'm on is not doing a great job of giving me his credits, but he doesn't have great credits, basically. His list of credits is not impressive. What do you make of this news here, Nick? I'm a little underwhelmed by the writer, but I'll give him a shot, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I think the important thing here is he did work on New Line's Rampage, so I think part of this is probably that The Rock developed some sort of relationship with him and trusts him. And at the very least, this means that the movie is actively moving forward, because it feels like forever ago that Rock was announced as playing Black Adam, and it seems like there just hasn't been much movement towards him actually appearing on screen as the character. So good to hear that this one is finally making some progress forward.
Yeah, the interesting thing is it seems like this Adam guy would be a better fit for writing a Shazam movie, because most of his credits are comedies. Maid of Honor, Due Date, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Undateable, the TV series, We're the Millers 2, which I can't believe is actually getting made.
Wait, what?
We're the Millers 2.
Oh, God.
Which I've heard the first one's not bad, but I've never seen it. And it just doesn't seem like a movie that would need a sequel ever.
I've heard the first one's got a scene with Jennifer Aniston in a stripper pole, so.
Well, let me check Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that was weird. So,
by the way, Greg, also Horrible Bosses, if you've never seen it. Give it a look-see.
I'll add it to the
I would recommend it. I give it 2 pointy nipples up.
Two Lex Luger nipples up. He was often erect in the nipple region. Speaking of the DC universe, let's move over to the TV side, because your favorite show and ours, Gotham, just continues to wow me with its creativity, because they are casting a third actress to play Poison Ivy, a.k.a. Ivy Pepper.
Ivy Pepper.
And it's not enough that they just have to get a third actress to play a character that only really needed one, but they reached out and they grabbed an actress away from The Flash who has played a character on there. They grabbed the actress Peyton List, who has played Golden Glider, a.k.a. Captain Cold's sister on The Flash. She is going to join as the third Poison Ivy. The character was originally portrayed by Claire Foley as a little girl who was shy and obsessed with plants, named Ivy Pepper, of course. Then she was replaced by the femme fatale Maggie Geha when she was aged up for some reason and turned into a sex pot. And let me just say, Maggie Geha was very successful in that.
Yes.
And now she's being replaced. And here's the quote from Gotham's producers. In the continuing evolution of Poison Ivy's origin story, Ivy Pepper has been transformed once again, taking another step toward becoming the Ivy we know from the comics. Dangerous, a live wire of crazy energy, she'll set her sights on Gotham, intent on making the city her own green paradise. This whole thing doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I wish it would go away. And Nick, what are your thoughts?
I think it's pretty fucking stupid. And as much as I enjoyed the looks of Maggie Geha, I thought it was stupid when they did it then as well. But let's be honest, Greg. What does it really matter to us? Because at this point, we're not going to watch the show anyway. Well, we're just gonna mock it from afar.
To those who enjoy it, more power to you guys, because you got some interesting stuff coming your way.
And to those who do enjoy it, we offer you, as always, a certain phrase. That phrase being, of course, hashtag Gotham sucks.
And also, hashtag
hashtag nose emoji.
But it's not all bad news on the TV front, Nick.
It's not. That's true.
You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have facts of life. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that AMC's Preacher, of which I've still not watched the second season, has been renewed for a third season on American movie classics. Executive producer Seth Rogen announced it on Twitter, and the second season, which finished airing on September 11th, should soon be available for streaming, hopefully soon, on a major service. So Nick, Preacher continues to soldier on. I've heard the second season was a lot better than the first, so theoretically the third should be better than the second.
Yeah, from what I've seen of season 2, which is about 4 or 5 episodes, a massive improvement over season 1, and I've heard that they continue that momentum throughout the season, so I'm excited to hear that AMC continues to show dedication to this project, and I'm hoping that the further it goes on, the more we'll get to see some of our most beloved storylines from the comics. I would think, having not finished season 2 yet, just knowing the general plot of what season 2 was setting up to be, I would think Angelville and the Langell family would be a natural fit for the entirety of season 3.
Indeed. But as we alluded to a moment ago, you get good news and then you get bad news with it. And another bit of bad news on the TV front. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Marvel's half-hour scripted comedy, The New Warriors, will not air on Freeform after all. That is formerly the Family Channel. And THR reports the 10-episode show could land on Disney's forthcoming subscription streaming service, but that option remains a long shot. The pilot, which reportedly tested through the roof and caught the attention of high-level Disney executives, will instead be shopped to other outlets. The show was picked up straight to series on Freeform in April, but the network could not find a slot for the show next year as it had originally intended. Marvel then asked for New Warriors back, as the comic book powerhouse wants it to premiere in the new year. So they say they're still excited about it, and they're still hoping to find a home for it, but this is a pretty big surprise. I don't think you see this. We got an announcement about it, and when it's called to order, it's pretty rare to see a show go by the wayside after that point. So not really sure what the deal is there.
I would imagine it has something to do, with what the story says, which is that Freeform was struggling to find a place for it, on the time slot, because they kind of have their formula down to a science at this point, Greg. If you ever flip through Freeform and you watch some of the commercials for their programming, it's kind of like become what the CW used to be, which is basically every show is about young teenagers like having some sort of argument with one another. Like that's essentially all the programming that they air. And so this kind of seemed like a weird fit to begin with for me. But the encouraging thing is that according to the report anyway, the show's pilot tested through the roof and was very much enjoyed by high-level Disney execs. So it gives me hope that if they take it out and show it to other networks or other channels, that perhaps it'll be able to find a home, because I am, based on this report and hearing the positive response, I'm at least a little bit more intrigued than I was originally.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, that actually brings an end to the rundown this week. And that can only mean that it's time to move on to our longest running segment. It's time to move on to a little reading and watching.
What you been reading and watching?
What you been reading and watching?
And Nick, I have not been reading a darn thing, so I've been busy, you see, and I would ask that you tell the good people out there what you've been reading.
Oh, nothing.
In that case, I would suggest that we move right on to watching.
Sounds like a plan.
Pretend like we never even mentioned the term reading.
Absolutely.
Last week brought up. What do you want to start? You want to start with Walking Dead, or you want to start with the DC shows?
Up to you. I'm gonna let you make that call.
Well, the one that's freshest in my memory is, because I just watched it last night, is The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Let's hit that one out of the park.
Absolutely.
And we were very, very harsh in our episode last week. So harsh that we were often talking over one another. We were so excited to mention what we were talking about.
Right.
And we were talking about just how disappointed and flat we felt with the Walking Dead premiere episode. That it really was a letdown after a long off season of expectations. Don't know about you. We haven't talked about it yet at all. But I thought this was a step in the right direction, this episode. I'm honestly not sure what the episode title was, but this was an action-packed episode where we saw the next stage of Rick's elusive plan, as they're kind of divided out into different groups, 4 different groups doing 4 different tasks, and you see a group led by what's his name? That guy whose name I can never remember, and they are taking on with
Aaron?
machine guns. Aaron, yes. Aaron, yes, that's right. Aaron is leading one group as they exchange gunfire with a group of saviors, and I really liked the plan they had there, where they wounded the walkers and got them to go after the leader, the little lieutenant of that particular site. They're going to different Negan sites and basically trying to take out these sites as covertly as possible to avoid alerting the rest of the saviors that are out there and them calling in backups, because they know they don't have the numbers overall. So you get that. You get a really fun subplot of Carol and Ezekiel leading a team of Ezekiel's followers out into the wilderness to take out some stray saviors that are out there, which gives us some amazing Kang Ezekiel monologues, dramatic monologues, which I could just watch a whole show of that. Ezekiel being awesome. Meanwhile, you get Daryl and Rick as they are going through this mansion of sorts that is a hideout for the saviors, and they're going room by room trying to infiltrate it and doing a lot of silent nodding and things of that nature, and you know, basically just trying to as efficiently as possible clear the house out, which leads to some issues that we'll get to in a minute. And then your last group is led by a triumvirate of Jesus, the character, Sarah, and Morgan.
Yes.
And they're going through trying to clear out another site, and of all of that one and the Carol and Ezekiel one were the two most intriguing to me in the episode, primarily because my favorite part of the episode, as you can probably guess, Nick, Morgan being an absolute badass.
Yeah, Morgan going all Punisher near the end of the episode was pretty awesome.
Yeah. When he gets off that scene, when you think he's shot and he wakes up and he gets off the ground and he grabs the two pistols or revolvers and just starts going through and just going to town on people, just incredible.
Yeah, it was a great scene. Also, in this episode, you also have. It's somewhat interesting because I know that Rick has come to trust Jesus very much, but you have Jesus running back over ground that I feel like the show has just run over so many times, in that anytime you have the opportunity to kill someone and you don't, it always comes back to bite you in the ass. And so now it's just a ticking time bomb of waiting to see how long it's going to be before Jesus deciding to take this massive group of prisoners back to the hilltop. How long is it going to be before that comes back to bite him in the ass? Because you don't exactly have a jail or a place to hold like 35 saviors, which is what the group they took. And this was just a stupid decision on Jesus' part. Either you're fighting a war or you aren't. Make up your mind.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, Nick. I am all about rules of war, rules of conduct, and morality, and being nice and trying to do the right thing. I believe in that. But here's the problem. Within the world of The Walking Dead, that has proven to not work.
Ever. Not
time
once.
and time and time again. Even within this episode, the guy who he was originally trying to take pity on turns on him and nearly kills him. But it to me, they have been over this before, and within the rules of their world, you can't afford to leave followers of the enemy group alive. You just can't.
Yep.
And I agree with you. It's been gone over before, and that element was frustrating. Made up for by Morgan's badassery and Tara actually standing her ground on something. Although she probably just should have shot the guy herself.
Yep. Agreed.
And
I thought for a second there that Morgan, when he came out, was just going to mow them all down in the line.
I did too. Awesome. I thought it was going to happen too. And I thought we were supposed to feel like he was losing his mind, and instead I would have been like, no, he's doing the right thing. Yeah, awesome. And then in the house, the big reveal of that one is Rick gets into this room, finds this lone savior who jumps him, and Rick ends up killing the guy, impaling him on a spike, only to find out in a pretty great scene, I have to admit, for all my bagging on Rick, Andrew Lincoln really killed it in this scene. Rick walks in and finds out that instead of guns, this guy was hiding a baby, his own baby. And Rick gets in there and is sickened by his reflection in the mirror and realizing what he's just done. And then a few minutes later, he gets attacked by a character we haven't seen in years. I'll admit, I forgot all about him. The character of Morales.
Yeah, I had to Google. At first, I thought he was one of the people who was taking care of the old people.
That's what I thought too, Nick. Your name is Morales. You like old people. That was, but yeah. So this is a guy that left with his family very early on in the Walking Dead series.
4, I believe I read.
And went off on their own, and somehow has come together with the Saviors. And he gets the jump on Rick, and the episode ends with the revelation that he's already radioed it in, and the Saviors are coming in to where Rick and Daryl are. So I'm assuming the next episode, Daryl is going to have to save Rick's ass and get them out of there before they get overrun with Saviors. But yeah, overall, I mean, quibbles here and there aside, there's a few weird artsy shots that I still don't understand, like the montage of heads that keep fading in and out, a la an early 90s Bryan Adams music video. But overall, I thought this was pretty good, man. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, big step up from the first episode of the season in that it delivers on the promise of all-out war. I mean, it's mostly an action-based episode, or if not action-based, at least all of it is all the drama is occurring in service to some sort of strategic plot that is aimed at helping the alliance of Alexandria and the Hilltop and the Kingdom win the war. So finally some movement forward on that front, which was much appreciated.
And it gave us lines such as, "What befell this creature?" So good stuff. Good kudos to The Walking Dead for stepping it up after a week premiere last week.
Yep.
Well, let's move on to the DC shows. And Monday night kicked off what turned out to be a very strong week of the DC CW shows with a great episode of Supergirl, the best of the season to this point, in my opinion. It was an episode largely centered around, almost entirely centered around the Martian Manhunter, Geoff Johns, and fulfilling the cliffhanger from last week's episode, or the previous week's episode. Jean has gotten a message from Miss Martian that she needs help back on Mars, and it's urgent. And so he is going to go off there, but Supergirl won't let him go alone. So they get in his classic car that turns into a spaceship and drive off to Mars. And the big reveal there, they get there and they meet these white Martian freedom fighters that are working with Megan. And they tell Jean the secret that his father is still alive. Jean, of course, thinks all the Green Martians except for him have been wiped out, but they're telling him, no, your dad's still alive, and he's got information that we need to help our revolution. And who do they get to play Jean's dad? But Carl Lumbly, who played the Martian Manhunter, Geoff Johns, on the iconic Justice League animated series.
Mm-hmm.
And he is awesome.
Yeah, he's pretty great. Got the great classic voice. Just an awesome bit of fan service. One thing that these CW shows do is they are not afraid to give blatant fan service when it comes to their casting sometimes, and they certainly do so here. But it was awesome. But yeah, you mentioned this episode very much about the Martian Manhunter and what's going on Mars, but even more so with the other subplot. Really, the episode is kind of about fathers and about reunions with fathers, because the other subplot we get here is we see, after some of the backstory that's been filled in, we get to see Maggie Sawyer's long overdue reunion with her estranged father. And I don't know the name of the actor who played him. But let me say this. The actor himself, I didn't think was very good. I thought he was a little over the top with his accent and whatnot. But I thought that the actual writing and the subplot itself was very well done, and actually one of the more intriguing Maggie subplots we've had in quite some time.
I agree completely. I was engrossed in all of the scenes with Maggie and her dad, and I actually did like the guy as an actor because, and I think they touched upon it in a way that was not heavy-handed, that was not easy. They didn't take the easy way out and have him learn this dramatic lesson in the end. They approached it from a shockingly real perspective for a CW drama, It was awesome to see that play out the way it did. It was tragic and heartbreaking, but the ultimate realization that Maggie comes to at the end of the episode was so satisfying. And so, even though it's bittersweet because it's her dad that she's losing, it was so satisfying to have her stand her ground and realize that she didn't need his approval to be happy in her life. And then on the flip side of that, the bond between Jean and his dad on Mars and how they come together and how he doesn't believe that it's his son until late into the episode is just powerful. I think specifically of the scene where he slaps him in the face if you remember that.
I do.
Very powerful stuff, and their reunion is so believable because Lumley is such an incredible actor, and so is and Henshaw's great. I credit to him. Our Jean, it is awesome, and I also liked how they wrote their way out of having the Martians take on a human appearance, which was bothering me. And they wrote out of it by saying it's a Martian custom to take the shape of their guests.
Mm-hmm.
So that worked for me. And I just really dug it, man. The only parts of this episode that drug it down for me is the just unfathomably bad CGI in the climactic fight scene where they were throwing punches that were landing a good 3 feet in front of the CGI creatures they were punching. Yeah. And the CGI creatures were flying off in weird, all kinds of weird WWE 2K-like physics.
And it was especially disappointing for me considering the fact that the CGI leading up to the climactic scene
was good.
Was not great, but good by CW standards. Let me put it that way. Like an improvement upon most of the CGI from last season on any of the shows, really. So it was very disappointing when it got into some of the heavier motion and stuff of the action sequence that the CGI slipped a bit. One aspect of the episode I also liked was it was kind of cool to see Kara like cutting loose a little bit. You know, she's kind of been in this weird position where it's almost like she was. It's almost like this Supergirl in season 3 is almost like the Barry Allen was in his season 3, where she's just been tormented by so many things and been kind of down on her luck that it was nice to see Kara getting to have a little fun again. I laughed out loud when she drove up in the car rocking the Britney Spears to distract the white Martians and just kind of played dumb there for a minute and went to the whole Bugs Bunny routine. I thought it was cool to see that character having fun again.
Oh, absolutely. Totally agreed. I thought this was the best episode of the season to this point. Really, really enjoyed it. And it made me wish that we would see more of the Martians, actually. Not in terms of action scenes, maybe,
right, but
more of them in their element. And now that Jean's dad is brought back to Earth, maybe we will get to see that a little bit more. But let's move on to Tuesday night, which gave us The Flash, coming off of a week where you were pretty low on it, and I was lower than usual on it as well. I think. Am I misremembering that? Maybe that was the previous week I was thinking of. But
we were both fairly low on the premiere, and then kind of. I think I was a little lower than you were on the Kilgore episode.
Yes. So what we got here is an episode titled Luck Be a Lady, and this gave us I thought one of the better episodes in a while of The Flash. I thought this was a huge step up from the first 2 episodes of the season, certainly from what we had seen to that point in the season. And this introduces us to the character of Hazard, who is a shockingly, for The Flash, conflicted villain. Because she's a girl who's really a nice girl who's tried to do the right thing, but just has the worst luck imaginable. Everything bad happens to her. And, of course, because it's comics, she gets thrown into this situation where she gets these powers by the big conceit this season being this bus that was hit with energy when Barry came out of the Speed Force, and it's given people metahuman powers. So she is suddenly given the ability that we have scientifically explained to us in the episode as manipulating probability fields, the quantum fields around her that give her good luck, but everyone else around her as an equal reaction gets bad luck. And this is all part, as we learn, of a scheme, a larger scheme by the Thinker. Not to be confused with the Stinker. And he, so we're getting that going on. But the most important thing that happens in this episode, in my opinion, is the return of Tom Cavanaugh as Harry Wells.
Yes.
He injects life into this show. It was awesome to see him instantly back and interacting with Cisco Ramon. He shows up, and he shows up to give Wally a breakup cube. of his daughter breaking up with Wally, Jesse breaking up with Wally, and he tries to deliver the message in a patented Harry Wells fashion, bungles it, and of course gets into hijinks with Cisco. And in addition to all of this, we get a hilarious villain with this poor girl that just wants to enjoy her run of luck, and Barry tries to talk her out of it. She doesn't want to be talked out of it. It creates this huge, almost comical situation that could lead to the destruction of the city, including a scene that I loved where Barry ends up handcuffing himself and goes, "How is that even possible?"
Yeah.
So just an awesome episode, I thought. It was phenomenal. Right down to I knew it would be great from the opening moments when we get this little snippet from the Thinker as he's giving us a monologue explaining the life of this character that we know as Hazard. He says, "She was born in Sarasota, Florida, the first of what would become a lifetime of oh, damn it. What's the damn line? I've already forgotten it. The first of what would become a lifetime of maladies." Which I thought was just a great line, especially from such what appears to be a serious villain delivering these comical lines about how bad her life is.
And this was kind of the most we've gotten to see of the Thinker to this point. And I really dug this kind of extended look at him and getting to see kind of his plan to use these metahumans who received their powers in the season premiere almost as experiments to kind of see what Barry's weaknesses are and ways to exploit those, I would assume. But yeah, I enjoyed this episode as well. Harry Wells is just a fantastic character. The whole breakup cube thing was outstanding. And really, I know that they've been trying for the comedy to this point in the season, but I thought the comedy in this episode was almost entirely effective, whereas it's kind of been up and down throughout the first two episodes.
Agreed.
One thing that we haven't touched on yet this season, Greg, and I don't know if you can answer this for me. What the hell is up with Wally's hair?
You know, David Sunday, who has his Sunday Grooves podcast and is probably our foremost...
like David Sunday.
Yes, he is our foremost expert on celebrity hair, and he too has raised some concerns and some questions about what's going on with Mr. West's hair, and I'm not sure I have a good answer. I mean, at times it's almost Elvis-like.
Can you blame Jesse for breaking up with him since his hair looks like that now?
No, not at all. Absolutely not. I would too. You know, maybe that's what the breakup cube actually said in it too, because remember the message was kind of distorted a little bit because the technology was out of date.
His hair looks stupid.
That's what she's trying to tell you if you just listen, Wally. And so this episode also gave us some pretty shocking reveals in it. Number one, that Wally is gone. He is leaving to move to Blue Valley, which is a nod to the comics as well, which really caught me off guard. Nick, I don't know about you. I didn't see that coming. And
however, I've already read that he's going to be back within like 4 episodes. So
okay. But I will say also, controversial perhaps, not going to miss him.
No, I think they've kind of struggled with not really knowing what to do with him. I think they had an opportunity to do something very interesting with the character at the beginning of this season. And as I mentioned, they burned through that way too quickly. But they've kind of struggled with that character pretty much since his inception. I mean, since he was brought onto the show, they didn't really know what to do with him other than the estranged, son subplot with Joe. And then once they kind of became close, he was obsessed with getting powers. But then it's like once he got the powers, they didn't really know what they wanted to do with him having them. Like the show is still very much Barry's. And even though they tried to push, Wally's going to be faster than Barry, they never really treated him as being on Barry's level. It was always up to Barry to save the day and whatnot. And so perhaps maybe a little time away will make... maybe the absence will make the heart grow fonder, and that way when Wally comes back, we'll be actually looking forward to it, and they can bring him back with an intriguing subplot for him as opposed to him just kind of fading into obscurity in the background.
We also, of course, the other big reveal in this episode is that we got the shocking reveal at the end that Joe's companion is pregnant. And she drops this news on Joe, whose reaction was, I don't know if it was supposed to be hilarious, but I laughed.
Yeah, I think it was.
the just complete silence, which I have not been in that position. You have, Nick. I'm assuming complete silence is not the right response.
There is no right response.
I do remember a little bit of your response to me, but that's another story for another day. So that caught me off guard a little bit, but I agree, Nick. I thought this was a big step up, great episode, really fun.
Easily the best of the season thus far, in my opinion.
Oh, agreed.
Not even close.
And agreed, and it was just hilarious from beginning to end. And can't wait to see more of what this team has to offer, and to see more of the Thinker, who is not going to be quite as perhaps stoic and humorless as we may have been led to believe. So, in fact, his stoicism might provide some humor.
Yes.
So, anyway, moving on. Let's move on to a show that always does comedy right, and that is Legends of Tomorrow, which knocked it out with another great episode.
I thought so as well.
Yeah, this was just continuing a strong week of shows for the CW. We got an addition to the team, a brand new member known as Zari. She's joining the Legends. They rescue her from the future as she has some sort of amulet that has abilities that are similar to those of the totem possessed by Amaya. Different, but similar.
Yeah, these seem to be able to control the weather, I'm guessing.
Yes, she can draw upon elements as opposed to animals.
Right.
And they rescue her from being hunted by Kawasu, this enemy of Amaya, who, of course, is back with the Legends. Kawasa is apparently a character who has encountered Mari, the present-day Vixen, on her solo series that was an animated series on the CW Seed. And this is our first time really delving into her a whole lot. And she shocked me by actually getting the better of Sarah in the bar. So, there's a lot of great stuff going on here. Great lines from Mick Rory, including several references to the show Prison Break, which the actor Dominic Purcell was a part of, including the line, "Prison Break, I'm in." So that was great. But let's face it, I mean, I've beaten around the bush. The highlight of this episode was Nate.
Nate was 100%. Great. Yep.
Yes, he was. The highlight of the episode to me, he goes on a vision quest with hallucinogenic chemicals to try to help Amaya deal with her issues with the totem, and in the process ends up getting stoned out of his mind and having to pilot the Wave Rider to save his friends and companions, and it leads to hilarious results, including one of my new favorite scenes on the series when Nate tries to grope Sarah and her reaction is just priceless, just phenomenal. This episode was hilarious. It just entertained me from beginning to end.
Absolutely.
It made me continue to love Nate more and more and more. Ray had great lines, when he says, "I'm right on her tail," and he goes, "Well, let me rephrase that. I'm following her posterior at a safe and respectable distance." He's just killing it. Sarah was awesome, as always. The whole cast was just great here. I loved this episode, Nick. I continue to love this show.
Yeah, I did as well. I even thought this new character of Zari was very interesting. Apparently, this is going to be their version of the DC character Isis. They can't use that name for obvious current news reasons.
Terrorists ruin everything.
Yeah, that name is not really usable. But maybe what would be awesome is if we could get a Legends of Tomorrow version of her comic book husband, Black Adam.
Oh man, how great would that be? How great thou art.
How great thou art, Donovan.
Dope word.
There you go.
Yeah, just awesome. And speaking of awesome, let's go on to the perennial, at least in our judgment,
Bull of the Woods.
The Bull of the Woods of the CW shows, and that is the originator, Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
And Arrow is picking up on the heels of what was a pretty shocking cliffhanger last week.
Yep.
Where Oliver Queen has surrendered the Green Arrow mantle to his best friend, John Diggle. A John Diggle who is dealing with a severe nerve issue that is causing him to not even be able to shoot his gun accurately anymore. And Diggle nonetheless takes this responsibility because he feels obligated to Oliver. He sees Oliver have a chance to become a father to his son. He sees Oliver have a chance perhaps at happiness for the first time, and he's not going to take that away from his friend. And so he takes this role despite the challenges that he'll face. And what we get is we pick up apparently sometime after that, and we see John leading the team out into the field, which gives us a crazy awesome opening action scene that included, Nick, I don't know if you agree, but I thought one of the better uses of CGI I've seen on Arrow in terms of when Diggle is jumping off the roof of the building and Black Canary uses her canary cry to produce a sonic burst that pushes him to the area that he's trying to reach. I thought that was awesome. I thought Diggle taking down the thugs of Faust was tremendous. Just awesome stuff there as in this action sequence. And unfortunately, John, although he no longer has those tremors in his arm that we've seen, is not able to make a rash decision in the field now that he's thrust into the leadership role. And this shocks him because he's never had problems making decisions in the past when he was in the military. Now he finds himself out in the field and he's struggling to figure out what to do. This creates some of the crux of the episode as Wild Dog goes behind Diggle's back to ask Oliver to come back and take over the team. Oliver doesn't want to do that. He has faith in Diggle and gives him a great pep talk that just reminds me how much I love the bromance between Ollie and Diggle and what great friends they are. And in addition to that, we get continuing push of the city government to outlaw vigilantes, an anti-vigilante movement, basically, to get a bill going about that in the city. And
initiated by bitchy FBI agent Pollard or whatever her name is.
Yes, absolutely. Who needs to get an arrow through the knee.
Yes.
Or the neck.
Yes.
And
or both. Can it be both?
Can it be both? And this movement, Oliver is going to put to a public vote, which is his way out of it at the end, and let the public decide what to do with the Green Arrow. And we also, most importantly, finally get a little bow chicka wow wow, because Olicity is back, baby.
Indeed it is. To the pleasure of us and to the dismay of some, it is back. And here's hoping that it actually sticks this time, although I am not optimistic on that front.
Hey, I'm going to take it while I can get it, my friend. And it was awesome. It was great. I mean, I don't know if they're deliberately putting Felicity in short skirts this season, but I'm not complaining. And more important than the short skirts, though, is the chemistry, the off-the-wall chemistry between them, and added in the element of William, because now we've got this motherly element to Felicity that we've never seen before, to go with the fatherly element of Oliver, and almost trying to give maybe William this sense of family that he's missing. And again, we say it every week, I love William on this show.
Yep.
I think the actor is doing a good job.
He is.
His chemistry with Ollie is great. His chemistry with Felicity was great.
But just his presence has given the writer so many different interesting avenues to go down. Like, it's just opened up this whole other like realm of subplots for Oliver that have just been a welcome addition to the show. You know, we wondered what was going to fill the void left by the flashbacks, and it seems like William has kind of taken over the role of the flashbacks, because we're getting to see these parallels between Oliver having to grow as a person and Oliver having to grow as a father, and it's fantastic to see that play out over the first 3 episodes of this season.
We didn't mention. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna throw it over to. I also wanted to give some shout out to. I love to see the different storylines that were being juggled throughout the episode. Whether it was Felicity and Curtis working together to start their new company, you know, the Felicity and Oliver relationship drama, Oliver and William, you know, working on their relationship, but also, you know, that moment where Diggle, you know, freezes in the middle of the field, and you get to see how Wild Dog reacts to that, how you know how he goes and speaks to Oliver about it, how Dinah reacts to that, and so it's just like all these different characters kind of pairing off and having these interesting interactions with one another as a result of that. I thought was very well done, and all led up to a closing like 5 minutes of the episode that I just absolutely loved, from the Olicity bit to the gift of the arrow gun to Diggle, to the reveal of why Diggle was suddenly able to shoot straight again. All good stuff, and I think it is setting up what is going to be Diggle's ultimate downfall, and why Oliver is ultimately going to have to take over the role of the Green Arrow once more.
My sidekick, Diggle, is a junkie.
Yes.
No, it was amazing, dude. And speaking of sexual chemistry of Olicity, which they have the most of any of the CW shows, how about Diggle and Canary still causing sparks to fly every time they talk to one another?
I wonder when Lila's going to pop up again to play a little bitch. My man ain't your baby's daddy.
Yeah, I know, and it's weird to say because I always liked Lila, but now I'm starting to feel it a little bit. I don't know. Maybe we'll see some wild mood shifts in Diggle soon. I don't know. But and in addition to all of that, we haven't talked much about the primary villain of the episode, Onyx, because honestly, it didn't really matter.
No, she was a means
window
to
dressing. Right.
Yeah.
She was window dressing to everything else that was going on with these characters. It was never really about whether they were going to foil her plot. It was really about how they were going to solve the internal dynamics of the team, which continue to be off the charts and thrilling.
Agreed.
So with that being said, let's do what we like to do every week, Nick. Let's rank them. Rank them.
You go first.
Do we go from bottom to top or top to bottom this week?
We've been going top to bottom, so let's go top to bottom.
Top to bottom. I am going to go at number 1 with Arrow. I am going to go at number 2 with The Flash.
Okay.
I'm going to go at number 3 with Legends of Tomorrow, and I'm going to go at number 4 with Supergirl. However, allow me to addend it by saying this is not a value judgment on any of these episodes of being ranked low. Arrow was number 1. Everything else was really close to being equal as number 2. They were all great. Every episode was good this past week. The only thing that dropped Supergirl just a notch below was that action scene. Other than that, all of them were fantastic.
Agreed. I'll also go Arrow at 1. I'll go Legends of Tomorrow at 2. Oh, this is tough. I'm going to go Flash at 3 and Supergirl at 4. Even though I think I enjoyed the overall episode for Supergirl a bit better, I'm going to ding it because of like you said, the action and the CGI near the end. And so Tom Cavanaugh kind of gets the plus mark there and pushes the Flash into the number 3 spot, just slightly ahead of Supergirl, but both very, very good this week.
Outstanding, and I think it was a nice, consistent week. And I'm a little bit ahead of you, Nick. I got a glimpse at this week's episodes as well as we're recording this, and they're off to a great start again this week, at least with Flash and Legends. So we'll talk about that next week. But let us know your rankings, of course. We're always interested in that. Arrow just continues to blow me away this season. Absolutely. They've really continued the momentum from last year.
Agreed.
With that being said, we're going to wrap things up. And when we come back next week, we're going to have yet another special edition. We don't know what our location will be yet. We haven't booked the North Carolina High School Gymnasium. We may go back to the L-Shaped Studios in Ho Ho Loon Plaza in Vancouver. But what we will be doing is giving you a hot take review of the, at that time, brand new motion picture, Thor Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. It opens this coming weekend, actually, and both of us will be going to see it separately, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
And we will report back to you, our loyal listeners, with our thoughts on Thor Ragnarok. Look forward to that. And then, what do we have the following week, Nick? Is that where our Longbook Hunters goes?
That's where our Longbook Hunters will come in, and then we wrap up the month with a special look at Justice League.
Absolutely. And it's going to be interesting. We're looking forward to it. The reviews have been sky high for Ragnarok, so that should be fun. And, we haven't really heard any feedback, Nick, shockingly, about our Beef Hoganoff from last week.
I'm disappointed.
Nobody has given us any alternative scenarios. We haven't really heard any feedback about that.
Yep, that's disappointing, but I maintain I'm still going with original 80s Hogan as the winner.
It could very well be the case. And I don't actually have a lightning round this week, but next week I'll try to come up with one that will fit with the theme of our show, which is that there is no theme. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your weekends, enjoy your weeks. Let us know your thoughts on the show. And if you're not watching the DC shows, catch up on Netflix because this season has been pretty strong, especially for Arrow, but also the other shows are picking up steam too. And we will catch you next week, same time, same channel.
Well, now me and Homer Jones and Big John Talley had a big crap game going back in the alley. And I kept rolling them 7 and winning all them parts. My luck was so good I could do no wrong. I just kept on rolling and controlling them bones. Finally they just threw up their hand and said, when you hot, I said, yeah. When you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. Put all the money in and let it roll again. When you're hot, you're hot. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. When you're hot, you're hot. Well, now every time I roll them dice, I'd win. And I was just getting ready to roll them again when I heard something behind me. I turned around and there was a big old car. He said, hello, boys. Then he gave us a grin and said, look like I'm going to have to haul y'all in and keep all that money for evidence. I said, well, son, when you hot, you hot. He said, yeah, when you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. You can explain it all down at City Hall. I said, yeah, when you're hot, you're hot. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. When you're hot, you're hot. Well, when he took us into court, I couldn't believe my eyes. The judge was a fishing buddy that I recognized. I said, hey, Judge, old buddy, old pal, I'll pay you that $100 if you get me out of this spot.